Hello. How are you? So, I was just sitting around and I was, had some ideas in my head and, thought I'd get them out. I always do. I think too much. Anyways, I like to consider myself a well-rounded musician, is the fact that I play all the instruments and I do mixing and mastering and stuff like that, and I work in video. And so when I would approach something, I tend to approach it from all angles, as many angles as possible, visually, audio, whatever. So one thing I've gotten into from probably like my second album I ever did. My first album I ever did, I pressed myself from like a 4 or an 8 track, and it was on tape. The first studio album I did was Scott McAway in Shreveport. It was dope. It was really cool because, he's a really good engineer. And he has really good instruments and shit like that, and he had really good equipment. As a matter of fact, that's how I learned about reamping. I didn't know anything about it, and so he had me run through the guitar amp. He had a Line 6, one of the original Line 6, maybe like the Pro, the Line 6 2 Pro, and we're looping out the back. The dry track was looping out the back and then coming back out so that we could in real time track out the thing. And when he showed me that, I was like, wait, so after it's done recording, I can change? Like, yeah. Because that's like once it's recorded, that's the thing about recording, especially the tape. Once it's recorded down, it's recorded down. That's what it sounds like. If you recorded with whatever amp and whatever, you can't come back and change that. 2 weeks later, 4 years later, you can't change that. It's the same shit. Not anymore. And that was way back in 98. So I was like, fuck, dude, this is incredible. And so I just kind of got into the digital world with the DR5 drum machine. And once I figured out about dumping MIDI to the computer, I was like, well, I'm reamping these guitars. I wasn't using a Line 6, but I every time I have like a whatever thing I had, I would start to try and reamp it. Eventually I got a Behringer V-Amp 2 Pro. Basically the same thing as the Pod Pro. Not the Pod XT Pro, I wish it was, but it's the same thing as the original Pod 2 Pro. Very, very cool. Very inexpensive. I would still use it to this day. How I might get one, I don't know. I had one. Love to get it back. But the reamping of the guitar, when I had a Behringer GNX1 foot pedal, I was doing that. One of our guitarists, Dale, he had he had SpeedIF out. So fucking envious, because he had SpeedIF out and in, so I could SpeedIF out the dry track, and then SpeedIF out the dry track from his device, from his Digitech, into SpeedIF in, and then SpeedIF out that dry track back into his machine, and whatever signal that, well, like when we're not recording, it SpeedIFs out and then sends back to the recording. And the thing about like the difference in levels and quality between because the AD converters, the analog digital converters, you get some loss in audio, especially back then, because it's going to 16-bit, 48 kilohertz CD quality, but HD quality to reproduce exactly what's going in, it has to be around 32-bit and 192 kilohertz. So most people don't even get to 96 kilohertz. I was recording at 96 kilohertz because the results were just, to me, they sounded way better. It's just really clear. But I won't say I was bullied in, but I was kind of pressured into doing 48 And the truth was, on the computer I was using, it was such a ease of burden on my computer. I was like, I mean, I technically probably should be running at this. The cool thing about running a 96 is that it was so using up so much space and so much hard drive and so much RAM and processor that it forced me to think more like a 16 track, you know what I mean? 8 tracks. I really kind of had to watch how much stuff I was running because I could overload the computer pretty quickly, and then I couldn't do anything. So I had to watch my plugins carefully. I had to watch my resources. I had to watch all that stuff. I had to watch how many tracks, which makes you plan your vocals a lot better. You don't just use like 4 and 5 tracks because you have, for this one spot you want to kind of echo out or whatever. With at 24/48, it's like half the processor power. You know what I mean? It's like 48 instead of 96. I mean, I can just put so many effects on there. It's just crazy. It's just nuts how much I can do. Even at 96, now that I have the 64 gigs of RAM, it plays back just fine. The one I was mixing today was 96 kilohertz, and I mean, it plays fine. But those tracks that I recorded, the dry tracks, are clean, and they're pretty much exact replications of what the guitar sounded like without any effects, just off the cable going into the thing. On top of that, I'm pretty sure I recorded them speedish, so I went into a direct box. From the direct box, I went into my guitar amp, Pod XT. The Pod XT sent a track out to my mixing board that I can listen to while tracking, while the speedish sent a dry track to my audio interface, so I get a rough idea what it's going to sound like later. I dial in a rough sound, and then I record the dry track. Digital conversion's already done. 80 conversions already done inside the XT. Record down. I can use my pod form, my pedals and stuff, and control all the effects. Wah, stomp pedals if I needed to, volume. I usually don't like to stomp on distortion. I'd rather have like a volume roll off because it's just a smoother transition. It doesn't just. If you listen to like Heart Shaped Box at the end of the solo, it's like. The second one you can hear like the volume drop, and it sounds live. It sure does, but I mean, you don't have to sound like that if you just have a volume pedal. This band we opened for in Shreveport called Seed. They just had a fucking dope ass sound, and mine sounded just really shitty and thin. And I was trying to figure out like why it sounds so good. And I looked at I took the time to actually, because I mean they would let us on stage because we opened for them. So we were actually holding people back and stuff. Kind of like being the barricade between the band, and we were pretty close. We got to play the drums like during like one of the songs. Me and Opie just back there banging on the drums, and Lance is just letting us do it. So yeah, we were drunk as shit. But yeah, I actually got a chance to like get behind them and just like actually like really investigate Jason's rig. And he had a Marshall half stack, and he had a Gibson Les Paul. And I was like, fuck, it's just a really great sound. And like I went over and like I could actually investigate. I'm like, okay, so he's used definitely. I mean, I never knew like the difference between tubes and whatever. Everybody was always arguing. And then like I kind of like, and then at that second, like the argument between I was still learning, I was still young. At that second, I was like, okay, that's what everybody's talking about between the tubes and the digital sound, because I had a digital GSP-21. I went and traded that preamp for a tube preamp, and sound got way better. Cause I had a tube power amp. Now I had a tube preamp going into a PV 412. It was only like a 60 watt, but the preamp was the PV Rockmaster, which is basically the preamp for the 5150. Before the 5150 was 5150. Before Eddie Van Halen tried it out. It was a great preamp, and it had effects loops like crazy. You could put effects just on the clean, just on the crunch, just on the lead, on all three. I mean, it just had everything you could ever fucking need. It had weird kind of controls, like instead of like, whatever, it had like hair Body, and I don't remember what else it was called. But it wasn't like just like treble bass and presence. It was on the clean, but like on the distortion. But yeah, it had like 2, maybe 4 tubes in it. Good sounding thing. But the other thing I learned while checking that out, like I had noticed that he didn't have any stomp boxes. Like I mean, I think he did, but they did. He had like there's especially. I should pull it up. I think it's like tank driver. Let's see if I can do this. Yeah, I won't get struck for that because that's. I mean, they might get pissed. I don't think so. Hopefully, they won't get mad. You're not gonna open? Okay. I was gonna say it's gonna be weird. You don't think it's gonna be weird? It's gonna be weird if you don't open. Seed, tank driver. Yup.
My teeth are bitten too hard into knowledge. I found myself again. I will return. What's inside of me? And no matter how I try, I must confess you. Carry on once again. I'll never be myself. I will
You can't. But no, the way that it blends in between the not clean. I mean, if you depending on how minimal you set the pedal, the cleaner it gets. You can do it on your guitar, but I mean, as far as recording goes, if a band would come in and like more, especially more than one person drops a volume pedal, I know it's going to be a good session because a lot of it is riding the faders and stuff, which means that they know their music well enough that they know how they want it to express. It's even better if you see like a fucking MIDI foot pedal, because again, like I mean, just because you know how you want it to express, you may not get it quite exactly right because you know you are playing and whatever. It'd be best to split them into two different things. But if the second best thing to do would be to use a MIDI, and they'd be like, fuck, I fucked up the intro. It's supposed to start cleaner a little bit, and you're supposed to bleed in a little bit, and you just drag the start of where it's, you know what I mean, where the node where you started moving it, because it's all virtual. That's why virtual is going to end up taking over. Because in my computer I have over 595 drum sets in BFD alone. Complete drum sets, cymbals, all that shit. I mean, over that. In Moto drums, I have another 11. Moto bass, I have 13 basses. I have so many samples, and it's all on this one computer. So many synthesizers, virtual synthesizers, and they did a good job of mocking them up. I mean, they just did a good job of copying them. The number of amps I would have to have several warehouses to hold all the amps that I currently have, between Tonex, Amplitude Max, Pod Farm Platinum, Revolver, Revolver Producer, Guitar Rig, free, all the free ones, the ones that come with Plugin Alliance, the subscription, the ones that come with PreSonus Empire. I have that one maxed out. I've just got amps for it's ridiculous. There's no way I'd be able to search through them and find them all. I would need like some kind of database to figure out what kind of amp I want to run and you find the right. There's to me, there is no such thing as right, and I don't get option paralysis, because when I'm listening to something, I get a general idea of what I want to go for. By the feel of the song, you know. The one I was working on today, it has that brush kit, and I was playing on it, and playing the song, and I was like, I was going to go for Fame Studios. So I was like, nah, it belongs to Muscle Shoals. You know, that Swampers kind of Muscle Shoals kind of, it belongs there. If I would have been thinking, I would have piped the guitars to the same, not that one, but they're on separate effects loops, and I'll probably do it here for too long. Move it to one effects track, and then put the in the guitar position the same Muscle Shoals. So it's all everything, and then even put the vocals, so it all sounds like it was at least processed through Muscle Shoals. It's fucking crazy. And then I have all these different like mixing desks, so I can make it sound like the mixing desk, like, you know what I mean, like a SSL, Neve, whatever. My advice for anybody coming up, whatever you're doing, bass, guitar, keyboard, study under multiple people. That way you don't get any idea of what's right or wrong. You get an idea of the principles that go in it, and that's going to help you a whole lot more to understand the fundamentals and to find you. Especially the more, well, I don't play classical, I play metal. You'd be surprised how similar they are. And you'd also be surprised at what translates very well. If nothing else, just getting your, you know what I mean, the proper way to hold your finger and get these working, whatever. Learning how to like mount this one finger and then using these to whatever, and how to get them. It's a good skill to have. The Doors. Their guitarist was a flamenco player. Their drummer was a jazz drummer. their keyboard bass player was a classically trained pianist, and their singer was a drugged out filmmaker. I rest my case. Study what you can fucking study. And if you're mixing and mastering, don't just study from one person. Don't just study one style. Nothing else if you're trying to run a studio. Hey man, you got, man, we don't do jazz, we only do hip hop. Just lost a client, man. You know? Or no, we don't do metal. No, we don't do hip hop or whatever, we only do metal. You just lost a client. Paying client. And you may have other people that, like, you know, if you knock out a badass job. That's how I got into making beats and stuff. Rather than knock it down, I was like, I can give it a try. Turns out I actually had a pretty good, because I have a good ear. And so they bring in beats that they wanted to, you know, not necessarily emulate. I had to have like this, especially one guy that would come in. I had to talk with him like almost every time because he would bring in like some beats that he's like, okay, I want this beat. I'm like, okay, that's going to get you sued, man. You can't just take their beat. Yeah. We do the thing that you do. I'm like, yeah, I got it, man. I get the feel of the song, and I'm going to do it. So I'd make something in there, and then I would, you know, they'd have like a bell or something like that. And I'd change it to something else that had that kind of like that pitchy kind of feel. I definitely wouldn't follow the thing. He's like, yeah, but theirs goes, doo-wee. And I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to keep you from getting sued. Yeah, you're right. I'm like, yeah, because this isn't the same song. That would be the same song. This would be a different song entirely. That's why the drums don't match exactly what they're doing. It has the same kind of feel, though, and so does this. If I do my job correctly, no one will tie the two together. Yeah. It's only the third or fourth time we've had this, man. You bring a new beat, and I start doing it, and you're like, yeah, theirs goes like that. And I'm like, yeah, if you want to get sued, I can do that. But I mean, as I'm listening to it, I'm like, all right, that's clearly an 808. Let's find something, I find a similar sound, tweak it out so it's not, it's not exactly the same. Listen to the snap of the snare, find something similar, add in a couple other things so it's got more of a body, you know what I mean? I'm like, to me, that sounds very thin. Instead of a pa, I want that pa in there, but I want to add extra like body to it. And so it wouldn't actually sound like the same thing, especially by the time I got done. But it'd have the same kind of feel. Mainly they just wanted to have like a party type feel, you know? And I learned how to do that. I learned how to do mixing and mastering pretty good, especially when I got these headphones. That'd be another tip. Make do with what you can, because it's got nothing to do with the equipment. Absolutely nothing to do with the equipment. You need certain equipment to do certain things. Like you need an audio interface to record, and then if you don't have a great audio interface, it's never going to be a great recording. But a lot of like demos and stuff are not great recordings, but they're amazing, and they can also get the person signed. And on top of that, it can also get like later on, if that person does get signed, it's like old, basically the 4-track. You know what I mean? Very first copy of whatever the next Smells Like Teen Spirit. So, I mean, just keep plugging along and keep working on what you got with what you have. Even if you have to break out a tablet and you have a multi-track and you have to record with just a tablet microphone, do your best with what you can. There was a time when I used to sit there because a tape, like a boom box had a little microphone, a shitty microphone. So I would record into that, and that'd be 2 tracks. And then I'd play that back, and I'd have another tape deck, and I'd play over what I was playing out there. Did it sound god awful? Fuck yeah. Do I still have some of the tapes? Fuck yeah. And is it horrendous? Fuck yeah. Oh yeah, it's bad. But I mean, then as I started getting to 8-track and stuff like that, 4-track and then 8-track, and things just kept getting better, and I started learning more and more stuff, and you just keep working. Keep studying what you can. I had to do mostly by myself because the internet wasn't really where it's at now through most of my learning. And then on top of that, people are trying to make money. So if you think things are behind paywalls now, things have gotten really free because everything was very much behind paywalls. All the plugins were behind paywalls, which started the hacking. Because, I mean, it's like fucking Waves' plugins were through the fucking roof. Because we were coming out of the phase of having one compressor that cost you like $1,000 or $2,000 into this. You can buy one emulation of that same compressor and then have as many versions of it. So therefore, like if you're going to buy the $1,000 one and wanted to put it on 36 tracks, it'd be $36,000. So comparatively, $400 for this one compressor is not that bad. And they really didn't move from that for quite some time, even though people were hacking and going around it and whatever. They're just like, nope. I'm like, if you charge less, people would buy it and they wouldn't hack because, I mean, you can't get technical support. You know what I mean? There's a chance of getting arrested. There's all this other stuff. And if you made it economical, I get that, whatever, but your main audience, your main customer is not the big studio, although you may be industry standard. There's way more of us amateurs than there are professionals. So keep selling at $400 if you don't want to sell to amateurs at all. Other companies will come in and take your place. And Plugin Alliance did. And Waves is following suit because they're having to keep up. They're still trying to keep the, we're still the best. And yeah, you guys are, but the thing is, besides changing the, they're very, very lightweight. They're very, very good plugins, and they're very, very lightweight, almost using like almost no processing. But that's because it's the same plugins they were back when I was running Cakewalk 8, before there were gigahertz machines. They've just changed, well, actually, no, probably about Sonar 1. For a lot of their plugins, they're still from like Sonar 1 days. And that's like 2000, 2002, maybe the latest. And so yeah, whatever it could run on back then, completely, they improved like the algorithm and the quality, but that didn't really bump up the needs of the processor. They increased the emulation style, which then probably did bump it up, but not much, because they did a really good job from the beginning. And there's really no reason to fix it because it sounds really good. And it's industry standard. So it's still the same plugin. They just changed the face so that way you have a reason to be like, oh, the new Waves L2. And you have to be like, there's no new features on it. It's the same. It's just like, I will admit, it does have a better look. Buy a new... No, I'm not buying a new version. You can stuff that in a sack. Stuff your sorries in a sack, mister. I hate when you feel like you got a boogie. You know what I mean? Because you just want to dance and you can't because you're stuck in the chair. But I got a boogie, boy. Got a boogie sometimes. A boogie board. Would you want to ride a boogie board? Out in the water? It'd get kind of sticky, wouldn't it? What's that, a boogie board? Yeah, I know, but I had to put them somewhere. I got a couple more for you here. Hang on a second. As I said about finding your voice, whatever, whether it's on instrument or on whatever. Emulate and fail at your favorite 3 or 4 people until you fall into what you feel. I mean, you'll start noticing certain things sound pleasing to your ear. There might be changes, as I said, with as far as with vocals, that was the easiest one to kind of talk about because and like rhythm section is not much different. Play along with like your favorite songs, but try to add to the songs without distracting from the songs, without like taking anything away. Like, don't try to outshine anybody. If you're going for like a lead guitar, then maybe try and like, whatever, try and at least accompany with the person and sound good. You don't have to necessarily play note for note, but try and sound something that's pretty decent. Otherwise, stick to the rhythm and let them, you know what I mean? Try and find something that sticks out for the rhythm. And like I said, you'll find your style by just lending support to the other people, and you find out how to serve the song. And then by serving the song, you start learning how to not write the song, but how to learn the song from that cosmic soup of space where it drifts out there. Every time, like I said, I've ever had writer's block is because I was trying to make the music or the art or whatever do something. I wanted to go this direction. I want to do this. I want to do something totally new. And so, like, I want to invent this new thing of my, and I no longer have fun playing. I'm trying to focus on it instead of just letting it do what it does. Sometimes I get in a phase of certain, things like mellow shit. And until that phase runs out and I've written the last song in there and I've gotten completely sick of it, and everything's starting to sound the same, I'm probably going to keep playing that stuff. The good thing is I'm recording all of them and I'm storing them away. I don't show everybody everything that I write. I write all the time and I stash them away in folders and stuff like that. And some of them suck ass. Like I come back and listen to them like, ugh. But there's so many songs in there. Like I said, if even 10% were good, that's 160 songs that are good enough to play. If of that 160 songs, 50% were pretty damn good, that's 80 songs. And of that 80, if like, what, I won't even say 50, but like 20% of that were really good songs, some people don't have that in their entire career, man. But on top of that, I would have 160 songs on top of the 11 that are good enough to continue and finish and do a whole song out of. And I've already currently have 11 albums. 6 are free. And then there's 3 for sale. Oh, and then Troth's free. And then Skirmish has a free album. And then so does Dumb. So actually there's 12 albums. Skirmish is like my electronic music. I figured it'd be best to do like in different, things. I think Gerdmo's dead though. I'm going to do the this greatest hits thing that I'm working on, Cracking Jokes in Hell. I've already started working on it. Now that I got the headphones thing, now that I got the RAM that I can run both of those without any problems of processor. Oh shit, dude, it's gonna be so cool. And now that I've got I had to look up the proper way to set up a measurement microphone, and I was correct. I'd already done the measurements and it was too late. I was kind of correct because I set it up as 90 degrees, and I thought that'd be the best to hear at. And so I set it up in all the positions that you're supposed to do at 90, and I used a 90 degree calibration. There's like 3 different calibration files. There's 0 degrees, 90 degrees, and 180. And so I thought maybe like, I don't know if it was like 0, 180, and then I thought about it, I was like, if it was horizon, a 90 degree angle is that, so therefore it's probably, but I was too late. I'd already done the measurements. And it wouldn't matter anyways, because like I said, I did it straight. And when I looked at the actual thing today, it said that you're supposed to do it if you have a measurement mic, it's supposed to be facing that way, which would be on a 0. So my entire thing was wrong. I was wondering why the mixes sound good, but they didn't sound like, it sounded really bass heavy. After doing this check right here and doing this mic, oh God, it sounds a lot better. I didn't spend a whole lot of time mixing because like when you're doing live and stuff, it just kind of feels pressure to do it right, So I'll have to do it when I'm by myself. The good thing is that for some reason, Cakewalk, maybe it's just too easy to run those or something like that. It does not want to run without OBS open, which works good for me for as far as like broadcasting. I don't know. I guess some of them are back in like 16-bit 44, some 16-bit 48, and some are like there's different degree. I was messing around with different things as my computer got better. I kept getting better sampling power until I was working at 96. I did a lot of stuff at 96, which is fine. I've got enough processing power now to handle that easily, and add in some new effects and stuff too. Very cool. I got room correction for these headphones specifically, and then I have room correction for these Behringer Truth monitors, and the mixes so far sounding pretty good. I feel like checking one out because I haven't listened to it through these headphones really good. Where would that be? Oh, that'd be on desktop. Okay, man. Desktop. Music for show. Gideon John. Sabaton Necro. Ozone. That's like I want to check. The Ozone is like very loud and very clear, but it's like it's pushing. It feels like it's pushing it too hard. I'll show the difference between the two. I don't know. Here's my version that I did. The cool thing is, like, I earned both those mixes because, like, it was the same mix down. I let Ozone. I was trying to do like a John Henry thing, and the Man versus the Machine. So this one I mixed. I didn't want to master it with my usual stuff, so I used T-Rex 5 to master it. So I didn't use any of my normal stuff because I try to shake things up to keep it from getting stagnant. And the other one, I was like, well, let's see what you can do on your own. So I just left the track alone. I didn't add anything to it besides that auto mastering plugin called Ozone. Now it'll take it as loud as you can. It'll let you. I mean, as loud as you'll let it. But once it starts to break up, so if you have a clean mix, it can pump it loud. But if you don't have a clean mix, it can't really take it that loud. I wish I had a professional mix that I wouldn't get in trouble for to show the difference. There was Seed, but I mean that was pretty quiet comparatively. And I know Dirt Clot Fight is definitely going to be. I mean, I won't get in trouble for it though, but I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about because this is from pre the Volume Wars, and so before the Volume Wars, if I could play like the Red, that's like when I'm trying to check my mixes. I like a good, clean version. A high resolution version of the Red. That mix is so fucking clean and so loud, and it's a good example of like what I'm trying to achieve. Yeah, Chevelle. Oh, I'd love to crank that. But just to get whatever. I also listen to like Blondie's Sunday Girl. I like that one, especially the French version. It's really good. Reminds me of my friend Robin from the Live Stoner Society. Me, her, and Patton stoned. And she would we all stayed during the breaks. A lot of people went home because they were from out of the state, and Tyson was from Texas and she was from Oklahoma. I was from Shreveport, but it was just too much fun to go home, man. I just stayed there for like spring break and shit, and we just stayed and got stoned as fuck, dude. It was cool as hell. But I remember she brought her radio over, and then it was like the fucking. It was like right in the morning. She cranks open the fucking door and starts playing the Brady Bunch. It's a sunshiny day. Me and Patton both like stick our heads out the fucking door. Like, the fuck is that, man? What? She brought like the fucking boombox, like say anything stuff. Get up! It's time to smoke weed. It's a sunshine day. Everybody's laughing because we're all stoned as fuck. Hunting lesson. I feel so isolated. Where'd she went? Got little bit louder. Just a little bit. It's a little bit louder. I'm thinking about checking that one and putting that track on like I was talking about. I wonder if it'll mess up the... Yeah, because it's going to switch to 96. I don't want to do that. I'll do that later some other time. Unless anyone wants to chime in and say, yeah, let's do that. I don't even know if anybody's watching. But I could always drop out and start a new one. What are we at? What are we at? What are we at? Go away. Try to leave me be. Oh, hey. Good, listen. 47 minutes. I'm going to drop out. I'm going to start working on that song again. What is it? What, 12:57? Yeah, I'll crash out for like 2 o'clock. What is that? Behind you. What is that behind you?